So I'd like to ask you some nuts and bolts types of questions about your investing. Yeah.
Okay.
And not necessarily just for women, but for anyone. I hear we all hear about the fact that we should have diversified investments.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are trying to diversify. Are there some fallacies about that? Are there some things people are doing and it's not achieving?
What diversification means is that you should have different asset classes in your portfolio, and because you never want to put all of your eggs in one basket. People think sometimes if they have a whole bunch of, let's say, mutual funds, oh, I'm diversified. Well, yes, you're diversifying the portfolio manager, but each of those funds may actually be investing in the same area of the market. So you may own 4 large cap growth funds as opposed to maybe needing an international value fund or a bond fund, a corporate bond fund, or something else other than what you already have. So it's important to know what's in your portfolio, and then complement and look for investments that do not necessarily correlate with the investments in your portfolio now.
So if you just have, let's say, 6 different mutual funds you're invested in, and you really haven't investigated who they're investing in and what sector of the market, you shouldn't feel totally comfortable just because you have 6 different statements coming in.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's a really good point.
Right.
Everybody asks this, and you never know. Like, you talk to someone, and no one really wants to say what they're doing with regard to savings and investing, and you never have any sense. Like, there must be some rule of thumb. Should I be taking 10% of my gross and putting it into savings, or 10% of my net income, or what? Is there any kind of like rule of thumb you're really not supposed to give to people, but you really kind of know is there for?
You're looking for the secrets of the profession, Anne? Is
Yes,
that what
please.
it is?
Please.
Well, then if I tell you, it won't be a secret. So, general rule of thumb is if you can save at least 10%, but I actually work a little differently. It's what's your lifestyle? What are you planning for? Let's quantify that, and then back into the numbers of what you need to save, because your goals may be different than my goals. So 10% may not be enough for me, and 10% may be too much for you, although it's probably not too much. But so you kind of start with 10%, but then I think it's really important to customize and take a look at what each person's goals are, each family's goals are, and what their needs are.
And your answer just triggered in me the other thing I wanted to talk about, which is, in general, what you described in your workshop earlier at Women at Woodstock was getting exactly that, getting to know a client, getting to know what their expectations and needs are, and figuring all that out so that you really know them, and then you start plugging numbers in. So, and I love the sound of that, and I didn't realize that. I kind of thought you go to a financial planner and they've got kind of a formula and you're going to plug into it. So is that something to kind of watch out for if let's say a friend has recommended, oh, you should go to this financial planner, and you walk in and they have the answer before you've even asked your question, that's kind of a bad sign?
So I don't want to say it's a bad sign. It just may not be the right person for you. So certain advisors have a very rigid structure to their, and I think you're talking about asset management portion of their practice. So this is their style, or this is their program, and that works for some people. Some people are going to them for that. And then some people, like myself, I don't believe that it's a one-size-fits-all, and I like to get to know my clients and know what's appropriate for them, and then figure out what's right for them. I'm also fortunate enough that I do have access to many different asset management platforms for them, whereas if you're affiliated with certain firms, you may not have as many platforms. So of course it's a matter of you just plug your clients into that platform. So It's not a bad thing. It's just what you're looking for.
Right. Well, if you know that you want an advisor who isn't keyed into any particular type of investment, how do you know you found that?
One, you can ask. I think that it's very important when you sit down. I think you should look for recommendations from people that you know and you feel comfortable with, or somebody, if you've met them, like women at Woodstock who met me. But I think it's important to speak to at least 2 people, if not 3, and ask them questions like, what's your strategy? How do you work? Independent investment advisors tend to have access to more platforms than ones that are affiliated with, a specific brokerage firm.
Is there anything in their title that would tell the layperson whether you're an independent or not, or like you said, do you just
No, you need to ask. Sometimes some cards may say it, but it's a question.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
a good question.
And it's good to know because
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even think to ask that, really.
Right.
I'd like to ask about credit card debt. Every time you read any kind of financial advice column or anything about finances, the person being interviewed always says, don't run up credit card debt. It's stupid, you'll never get paid off. That's great advice, but how many people have credit card debt?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but I would guess a lot. So let's say someone's in their 50s or late 50s, and they know they just consistently carry a credit card debt, and it doesn't really bother them now because they can make the payments, but they know they're eventually heading toward financial freedom, and they'd like that. How do you advise clients to come up with a plan to actually really get that paid off so that you're more in a clean state when you're free and you're not earning an income any longer?
So first I want to find out what that debt's from, what their income is, what their expenses are. Because if they are truly not earning enough for their lifestyle, that is different than, it's almost like maybe they're a debt addict, they're addicted to the debt itself. You need to look at what their other assets are, and if they have, there are types of debt that are a little bit better, so if they have access to something like that.
Like a home equity loan, maybe.
Exactly. And, then come up with the strategy to pay it off. And you need, going back to what I was saying before, that you need to understand, like, if they do have the ability to save, and then figure out, are they saving for retirement, so do we maybe reduce a little bit what they're saving in retirement so that they can pay off more of the credit card debt and pay it down, pay it down, get rid of it. It's really bad debt to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you read the statistics, and I feel like, okay, let's stop saying you shouldn't. Let's deal with.
Let's figure out how to. Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Let's fix it.
And I like just your first answer to that question, which was, let's find out what the debt was from, was kind of surprising to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great attitude. Again, it's not just the numbers. Oh, you have this much debt. Let's get it down. It's like, why? Yeah,
was it a one-time? Right. Was it a one-time event? Like, I don't know. Maybe you had a medical emergency. Versus, I need. I always use the black shoes. Oh, it's another pair of black shoes, but I need it. And that additional pair of black shoes is putting you in debt.
Right. Every 2 weeks.
Right.
For 10 years.
So you handle those a little differently.
Yeah.
So,
that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
What if you have a client who is living beyond her means, and you can look at the picture and realize that she literally needs to maybe sell her house or downsize? How often do you deal with that, and how do you deal with that?
So sometimes people do live beyond their means, and that's where sitting down with them and defining what their goals are. So if they're sitting down with me, I believe that one of the reasons that they're coming to me is to help them map out their road plan to reach their goals down the road. So what's important to you, and you realize that you may need to make some adjustments, and those adjustments could be different for anybody. Each person's so different and what works for them, but I think the worst thing is for me to tell somebody what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it's like when they were children and, no, that's what kids do, that's what adults do. Whereas if we work together to come up with what's comfortable for them to tackle this issue, then it's more like self-realized.
And on the flip side, is it kind of common too that you deal with clients who come in who actually they're doing fine, but they don't know where they are. They don't have a good roadmap of where they are. And once they've gone through planning with you, they are now actually free to spend a little more money. Like they never allow themselves to go out to dinner, and now they realize, yeah, I can afford to go out to dinner once a week.
Yeah,
do you see that relief on people's face?
I do, and it's funny because I do have some clients that I have a lot of clients that are certainly financially okay. They're worried about their heirs. And I always say to them, you know what, your kids, your grandkids, they want you to spend the money. They want you to be happy. They want you to be fulfilled. They'll be okay if they get a little bit less. And it's not about them. It is about you. So I have this one client. I have clients that age, some young clients, but I have a lot more mature clients. So I have this woman who's like 93 years old, and I have to remind her that she can spend her money, that she will never outlive her money. And I have to remind her sometimes.
It is almost an unbelievable concept if you haven't been immensely wealthy all your life.
Right.
And that's such a good point you make about worrying about your heirs and remembering that they don't want you to just not enjoy life. One of the things I hear most often in my age group, whose parents tend to be in their 80s, is that the parents won't hire a house cleaner. And all the kids who are our age are saying, for God's sake, have a house cleaner. And it's not like they're not capable, but it's just why,
Is that what you want to be
it.
spending your time on at this point of your life?
It makes us feel bad to think that you're saving $100 a week, whatever it is.
Right.
So we can have it later. I mean, I hope to have a retirement where I'm not cleaning my house. I'd like for you to have it. So yeah.
It's a different shift. It's a mind shift when all of a sudden you're on a fixed income and you do view life very differently than than during your accumulation and earning years. So sometimes you see that and they certainly can afford it, but they just don't.
Well, and there's some extremes where it makes them so unhappy it's not worth it. Just they need to do what they need to do.
Right.
So one last question, and that is, what's sort of the most common hang-up about money? It's not just money; it's all the emotions surrounding money.
I think for women.
Yeah, for women.
Because we're talking about women at Woodstock.
Yeah.
I think that women lack the confidence in their abilities surrounding money, and a lot of it stems from the beliefs from childhood, and they weren't brought up with the confidence. They don't think girls can't do math. So they're not comfortable, and you've heard me say a couple of times over the past several days that it's not necessarily just about the numbers, and a lot of I really do believe that it's important to work with your clients on the concepts, and they get it. I mean, women pay their bills, they have significant positions, so they get it. They're business owners. Why do they lack the confidence in the numbers? And so much of it stems from their childhood and the stereotypes that we grew up with.
Yeah, interesting, because we all, at least most of us here at Women at Woodstock, think of ourselves as feminists, and so you kind of consider that an all-purpose label for your life, but there are a lot of things in your head that were planted there that you maybe don't realize, and that sounds like one of them.
Exactly. Even in my family, sometimes my father goes to my brother for financial advice. He's a business owner. I'm a financial planner.
I love it. I love it.
Right. So, thank you.
Well, thanks so much for answering these questions. I got some insights just right now talking to you. And thank you for being here at Women at Woodstock.
Oh, it's been an incredible couple of days. And I mean, the women are fabulous. I've gotten so much information. I feel that I've grown personally and professionally maybe too. So it's been great. Thank you for putting it together.